KP classes dedicated to excellence.
Hello everyone, you all are aware that the exam date for GATE Architecture and Planning is announced, and this year it is going to be on 15th of February, and which is not very far away. So that's the target date for the GATE Architecture 2026 examination. So in this context, we, as you probably are already aware, we at KP classes are bringing to you a numerical masterclass. This would be for 2 days. It would be a session, a 3-hour session each day. So it is scheduled for the 6th and 7th of this month, in which we are going to cover all the important numerical concepts which are scoring areas for you in the upcoming GATE examination. And I'm sure this particular session, this numerical masterclass, will be a quick revision for you if you have already studied the concepts for the GATE examination. And if you are not someone who's strong in the numerical areas, then also this session is for you to get a comprehensive understanding of the level of numericals in the GATE examination and the scoring areas, the repetitive areas from which numericals are asked. So in this video for today, we are going to this will be an introductory, a short introduction for the upcoming 6th and 7th December masterclass, because in this video we will be discussing, we'll be going through the official syllabus for GATE Architecture 2026, and we will have an idea section wise both, so all the three parts, the common part, architecture part and planning part. We'll try to understand what are the important numerical areas which are generally asked in the examination, which are frequently asked in the examination. Even our upcoming masterclass of 6th and 7th will be revolving around these important areas. We'll try to cover as many. Obviously it is not practically feasible to cover 100% of the numericals within 2 classes, but we will try to cover as many important areas. We'll try to identify those scoring and important areas and try to for sure cover as many as possible in the upcoming class. So if you have not yet enrolled, I would recommend you to enroll into the upcoming masterclass at the earliest. The link for enrolling is given in the description of this video as well. So let us look into the official syllabus first. If you look into the common part, the first section, which is architecture planning and design, which focuses on architectural graphics and also anthropometrics, organization of space, circulation, universal design, building bylaws, codes and standards. Now this section is predominantly theoretical in nature because you have standards. You also have the universal design standards, like be it slope of a ramp or width of a pathway for wheelchair access, or so such aspects. Even circulation, be it for circulation in spaces or circulation standards for fire tender, all these are included within this first section, which is predominantly theoretical in nature. But in the recent examinations, if you see, there are some numericals also have been asked from particularly architectural graphics. If you look into the 2025 paper, there was a simple geometry based question asked on the aspects of perspective and the geometry of perspectives. So that is an area. So even in the section 1 of the common part, there can be numerical areas, particularly simple geometry based numerical questions have been asked from the first section generally in the past examination. But however, it is predominantly theoretical in nature. Moving on to the second section, construction and management. Now this section is one of those sections in the common part from which at least 4 marks of numericals has been asked in every past GATE paper for the last 5 years, because there are 2 important subjects which are solely numerical, which are very important from numerical areas point of view. That is project management, wherein you have PERT and CPM, network analysis, float calculations, crashing. So all these are included in the second section. So at least of 4 marks, at least 2 numericals, that is minimum. Obviously it can be more than that. Project management, that is critical path method and PERT, both are important areas from numerical point of view. In the critical path method itself, you have questions based on the calculation of the project completion time, identifying the critical path. So, and again the float calculations. Recently in the last 20-25 year, there was a question on the crashing concept also, which is related to project management. So float, crashing, CPM, PERT, these are the numerical areas. This is one area. Similarly, there is second important area which is numerically important from section 2, and that is estimation part. So every year you will at least have one numerical from estimation subject in the common part, both are in the common part itself in the section 2. So this I would say is very important. So your preparation should be in such a way that you are scoring these 4 marks for sure. You should not lose marks in this section because it is an easy target to improve, to boost up your score. Estimation subject is where you have numericals based on estimating time, estimating quantities, estimating construction material, estimating construction work, basically earthwork or say PCC work or concrete work, estimating that. So there are numericals related to estimation, which is based on simple geometry and 3D geometry based formulae, and also understanding the basic approaches in estimation. So this is an important numerical area in the second section. There are some theoretical areas too, which include form and structure and principles of disaster resistant structures, temporary structures. So that's the theoretical part. From this, even because you have a mention of form and structure, obviously structural analysis is something which is in the architecture part. But if you look into the past paper in last 3 years, 2 times numerical from structures also has been asked into the common part, which can be considered a part of this section. But I would not say it is a repetitive pattern that you will get a numerical from structure, but mostly basic numericals of structures can also be asked under the section 2 itself. Moving on to the third section, so you can see section 2 is very important, particularly when we talk about the numericals. So because I'm not trying to give a lot of importance just to numericals. I would not say leave theoretical part and focus on numericals, absolutely no. But you have to give numericals its due importance, because last time the weightage of numericals was 35%, 35 marks out of the 100 marks paper. But however, it can be very less than that also. Like in 2023, it was only 16 marks out of 100. So you should not give undue importance and have unrealistic expectations from numerical part. But it is a scoring area for sure, and this upcoming masterclass we are focusing on that. Similarly, there are many such focus areas which you need to build upon and work upon for the GATE examination. If you want to enroll into our upcoming batches, so we have a capsule course starting from 10th. You can enroll into that also at the earliest, so that you have a comprehensive 2-month preparation for the complete theoretical and numerical part for the upcoming GATE examination. The contact number is on the screen. You can reach out to our counselors for any guidance of the GATE preparation. So that's section 2. Section 3, environmental planning and design, is again predominantly theoretical based, because you have the topics of ecosystem, environmental pollution, sustainable development. Every year you get at least one question on the sustainable development goals. There are 16 SDGs. Questions on that have been asked multiple times in the past examinations. Then you have climate responsive design. So section 3 is predominantly, you can say, theoretical. You don't have much numerical part in this section. Section 4 again is an important section from numerical subjects point of view. Section 4 includes basically the numericals of urban design, landscape and conservation. So from this section, development controls, FAR, densities and bylaws, this part is actually interlinked with the housing subject as well. But because as per the official syllabus you have development controls and FAR written down here, I'm talking about that. So basically you get a numerical on FAR every year, at least one numerical on the development controls part, that is FAR calculations. And similarly the landscape design, now you just have the mention of landscape design and site planning here, but every year you have a numerical from landscape, mostly from the runoff calculations, sometimes from contour analysis too. So FAR part and also the numericals related to the runoff calculations. Every year at least one numerical is asked from these areas also. These again are very important numerical areas of the 4th section. Urban design as well, sometimes numericals have been asked, particularly from the types of enclosure which you feel in spaces. So such numericals, degree of enclosure it is called. So sometimes numericals on that have been asked in the past. Moving on to the next 5th section, so you need to understand about degree of enclosure as well under urban design. So section 5, the planning process, this again is predominantly theoretical in nature. It includes various spatial theories and also the principles of urban planning, various concepts of urban planning including eco-city, smart city, etc., and also the concept of acoustics and urban sociology, social, economic and environmental cost benefit analysis, spatial and non-spatial data analysis, development guidelines like URDPFI guidelines, including the guidelines for social infrastructure. So that is included in the planning process subject. Sometimes simple numericals can have been asked in the past on the calculation, like they can give you some aspect of the guideline of URD PFI and ask you a question on estimating the number of playgrounds required in a given neighborhood or in a given locality. They can give you some sort of population based standards to back such numericals. However, such numericals would be based on simple arithmetic calculation and understanding of basic mathematics. So there is no core area like say FAR or so runoff which you can identify as such from the fifth. So it's predominantly theoretical. Section 6 again is an important section from numericals point of view, wherein every year at least one numerical from housing will be asked in the common part. Now these are areas which are repetitive every year. So from housing you have concepts of the housing concepts, housing typologies, concepts, principles and examples of neighborhood, residential densities. Now that's a numerical area which is asked every year, affordable housing and real estate valuation. So basically under this under section 6 you have residential densities based calculation. Sometimes questions are also based on the housing units calculation, dwelling units calculation related to the different types of income groups like EWS, LIG, MIG, HIG, some proportion based calculations of the dwelling units. Sometimes numericals are asked on housing shortage and housing demand, which are also important concepts related to housing. So densities, demand and shortage of housing. These are some core areas of housing. And then valuation part. Real estate valuation is also an important area. Numericals have been asked in the past exams. So there are some simple concepts about valuation part which you can actually remember, like the concept of capitalized value of an asset, the concept of the net present value of an asset in perpetuity, understanding the concept of sinking fund. Such basic aspects of real estate valuation are tested in the numerical part in the common portion, in the common part of the paper. And that brings us to the last and final section 7, again an important section from numerical point of view, because in services there are various subjects. Now you will not get a numerical from every subject every year, because you have the subject of fire safety, water supply, wastewater treatment, you also have the topic of solid waste management and transportation. So there are 5 different services and infrastructure in this particular section. Will you get question from all the 5 topics? No, not necessarily. But if you look into 2025 paper, very rarely you get 2 questions, 2 numericals from fire safety. It was asked in 2025. 4 marks was the weightage of the numerical part of fire safety in the common part of 2025 paper. So something such aspect, such say weightage can also be seen on some points of services. So services is kind of an unexpected section. The number of numericals can be very few, can be very large. Like the other sections, it is almost determined. You will get 1 or 2 numericals from project management, 1 or 2 numericals from estimation, 1 numerical from runoff, 1 from FAR. So these are standard, whichever I put into box. That is something which is almost fixed. But the uncertainties, geometry based numericals from first section, a bit uncertain. Similarly, services. There are various services including fire safety, water supply, plumbing or sewerage, you can say, solid waste management, and transportation. From all the 5 services, numericals have been asked in the past, but not all 5 together. Numericals have been asked in solid waste management in the past, like in 2024 there was a numerical related to the number of truck loads or truck trips of truck to transport the solid waste from a city. So they will give you some aspects of the density of solid waste, the weight of solid waste, and also the quantity generated from the city, and they can give you some information related to the compaction of solid waste, and then they'll ask you numericals related to the estimation of truck trips, number of truck trips. In solid waste management, such numericals have been asked from water supply too. Numericals have been asked in the common part from the sewage and also stormwater drainage as well, related to the calculation of, let us say, the hydraulic radius calculation, that is related to the sewage sewers basically. Fire safety, I already told you, numericals have been asked in fire load, fire demand. These calculations are important. So services part, few services will be asked into the exam for sure. So it's not like there will be no question from it. That's not, it is certain that you will get a numerical from section 7, but which services are they going to ask, that changes a year to year. It's not standardized as such. So that's an analysis of the numerical portion for the common part. So in the upcoming masterclass also we will be dividing, we are having 2 sessions. One session will predominantly be architecture portion, architecture part of the common part and also there. So it's not like pure. So we'll cover the topics of the project management, estimation, and also the calculations related to the services part. So that would be the target on the first class. The second class would be more inclined towards the planning and urban design and also landscape. So landscape, urban design, and planning, transportation. These four broad areas we will be covering in the second session. So we are going to do it in a structured manner to cover the scoring areas and important concepts of every area in the upcoming masterclass. And so if you are willing to enroll, and it is a session which will be a quick revision for all the numerical concepts of yours for the upcoming GATE exam, that too at a very minimal price, so you can check out that course also, like I said. So coming to the architecture part now, history, as you are aware, history and contemporary architecture is purely theoretical based section. There are no numericals as such. However, let me tell you something interesting. If you look into the history, last 30-35 years, there was one time a numerical even from the subject of history. So GATE can always come up with unexpected questions in the examination, but again, it is theoretical subject in general. Building construction, structural systems, for sure structures is an important in the architecture part, that is B1. Important numerical areas include structures, wherein you have structural analysis related to the shear force diagram, bending moment diagram, or the calculations of shear force, bending moment. Then you have the calculations related to shear stress and bending stress calculations, IS 456, or the calculations related to RCC standards of that. So these are broad, and truss analysis too. These are some broad areas of the structures which are asked as numericals. At least one or two numericals from structures are asked generally. There are numericals in the building materials, particularly the concrete part as well, concrete or other building materials too. Not frequently asked, but sometimes numericals have been asked from this portion as well. Then you have the third section, building services and sustainability, important from numerical point of view. You have numericals related to the climatology, or basically thermal analysis of the climatology, wherein you have calculations related to the heat gain. You also have calculations related to the air conditioning systems, that is HVAC, calculation of cooling load of a room, calculation of energy efficiency ratio, or the power consumption of air conditioners. So that's an important numerical area. So you have water supply, sewage treatment, plumbing also here again. And then you have elevators, escalators. Even numericals from elevators, escalators have been asked in the past. So there are numericals from the services portion, you can say broadly. So that's an analysis of core numerical area. So in the architecture part, you can say that the numerical content or the numerical concepts are more in number. So ultimately you will have around 5 to 6 questions of numericals in the architecture part, but there are a lot of topics. Of all those, you can be sure that at least one numerical or two numericals will be asked from structures, and one of it will be from the thermal analysis and HVAC. So couple of questions from this area. So that is a broad understanding. Coming to the planning part now, the concentration of numericals is more towards the PTM and transportation. There are sometimes questions asked from the planning portion too, but most of the numerical areas in planning part are focused around the PTM, wherein you have numerical concepts like population projection or calculations related to some concepts of urban economics. These are some broad areas. And then so urban economics, some numericals related to supply, demand, and so on, forecasting those, some numericals related to that are asked. Population projection is a very important concept. Types of or methods of population projection, arithmetic method, so there are different types of population projection, arithmetic projection or geometric progression or growth. So there are different types of population growth, and you can project the population using those methods. There are numericals also related to remote sensing, sometimes related to the scale and flying height. Recent past, the number of numericals from such areas have been reduced, but there are questions related to aerial photography too, not very frequently asked. However, related to this, so not very frequently asked nowadays, less frequent questions are asked on aerial photography, but questions have been asked on scale, slope, contours, such represents. All these are numerical areas from the planning technique management PTM subject. Infrastructure planning focused around transportation, I would say that's the most important area of numericals in the planning part. In the 2025 paper, all the two marks numericals of the planning part are asked from the subject of transportation itself. In transportation, there are numericals related to the site distance, there are numericals related to the conflict points and intersections, there are numericals related to the calculation of space, mean, speed, and so on. So that related to transport survey and aspects related to transportation. That's an important area of numericals in the GATE examination. So that was a quick analysis with the official syllabus, core areas which you need to focus on for your preparation of the numerical portion. I hope you understand even the numericals itself, how vast it is. I'm sure the upcoming sessions of 6th and 7th will help you concentrate on the core areas of numericals and revise the important concepts for the upcoming GATE. So enroll into the upcoming session and let's meet and work on the numerical portions in that masterclass. That is all from my end for introduction of the numerical portion from this video.
KP classes dedicated to excellence.